Getting ready to go. What? Getting ready to go. I said, who? Getting ready to go. What in the world? Getting ready to go. Talking about. Okay, hey, funksters, it's time to talk about the truth and the lie from yesterday's video. I told 5 stories, 4 of which were true and 1 was a lie. Story number 1 was the virginity story, where I mentioned that I lost my virginity at the age of 17 with my 16-year-old girlfriend, and 15 minutes later she was in bed with another guy. 9 people did not believe that story, and I thank you for not believing it. However, it was true, unfortunately. Yeah. Anyway, by far the most people to disbelieve a story disbelieve story number 2, the cat lost in Canada story, which is where I mentioned my cat jumped out of the window of my car along the highway in Canada, and we had to drive several miles down before we could, find a way to turn around, and then we had to drive several miles back again, past where we were, to turn around again, to then find my cat still in the exact same place we were before, completely unharmed. So yeah, that's story number 2. It was absolutely true, although 25 people didn't believe it. Story number 3, I dressed up as a pig one time and performed in front of 10,000 people. Absolutely true, although it was not believed by 10 people out there. Story number 4 was I once had a girlfriend who was bisexual, and every once in a while her and her best friend and myself would have threesomes. That story, unfortunately, is false. I say unfortunately, I'm not sure if I could do that with a girlfriend, really. But anyway, it was a lie. The truth of that story I will talk about, because since that was the story I lied about, I will tell you the true story about threesomes in a minute. But 16 people were astute enough not to believe that one. Last but not least, story number 5, which was true. I once spent £3,000 on mobile phone charges in a 4-month period. That was about 2 years ago. And it took me, I'm really, really glad that only 9 people didn't believe that, because I didn't want to have to talk about that one. Anyway, right, moving right along. How many people wanted to hear which story? Okay, this is the interesting thing, because not everybody who voted on a lie voted on a story. But those who did vote on a story, it broke down like this. 10 people wanted to hear the story about me losing my virginity and my girlfriend running off with someone else in 15 minutes. 6 people wanted to hear the story about the cat jumping out the window and all the rescue. 14 people wanted to hear about me having performed in front of 10,000 people dressed as a pig. 8 people wanted to hear the story about the threesome, which I'm going to tell that story anyway since that was the lie. And thank goodness only 2 people wanted to hear the story about the mobile phone charges, because that would have been by far the most personally compromising story for me to tell. So I'm really glad I don't have to tell that one. And I'm also really glad that I don't have to tell the virginity one, because that's a really long video. Yeah, and a pretty involved story there. But that's true. And it didn't get the most votes. The most votes was a story about me dressing up as a pig and performing in front of 10,000 people. Now, one of the fellows who's been viewing me for a long time now, Zarkov45, was pretty astute, and he absolutely nailed it in the comments section. I was a bit player in a much larger spectacle. Actually, I was working for the #1 radio station in my market back home in California. And I was a part-time DJ at this particular time, although I moved on to full-time at the same station later on. But at this time, I was a part-time DJ. And if you're in broadcasting and you're up and coming, the best way to be upcoming is to absolutely relentlessly basically make yourself their bitch. And I basically said yes to every single bit of airtime they asked me to do, even if I had to cancel work at other jobs to do it. And when they decided we were #1 in the market for the second book in a row. And so we were given a lot more budget to sort of market with and whatever. And it was decided to have a mascot and a logo that goes with it. And so our mascot was a pig. And so they did all this sort of station paraphernalia with the new logo and everything. There were billboards and jackets and, all sorts of stuff. And I didn't wear the pig costume the first time, but I did wear it the second time, which was for a parade. And that's not the time I'm talking about, though. The time I'm talking about where I wore it in front of all those people was at the county fair. And I can't remember if it's the first night of the fair or the last night of the fair, but it's the night that they have the major fireworks display anyway, and fucking everyone in the world is there, so it seemed at the time. And it was the first time ever at the county fair that they had this situation where the pyrotechnics company that put on the light show, the fireworks display, had it so they would synchronize the explosions to music. And so we played that music over our radio station live. And so our station was like hosting the fireworks display. It was like a big promo event. And so it was so because it was a big promo event, and because we were the number one station, it had a lot of exposure locally, and it was really, really, really fucking crowded. And because I was told beforehand, how to anticipate which fireworks were going to blow up when, thanks to the music and whatever, I could pretty much do like Mickey Mouse in A Sorcerer's Apprentice, and I was doing all this stuff in my pig costume, great big pink costume with a head about a foot, 2 foot wide, like this big of a head, and dancing around like I'm a fucking Disney character and shit like that. It was great fucking fun, and I shook hands with hundreds of little kids and fucking peekabooed them and all that kind of shit. And it was wicked. I used to love dressing up like that and doing that. I like being anonymous characters. You might have noticed this already. And so that was my pig performance. It was at the county fair. As Zarkov was exactly right, I was a bit player in a much larger event. The real star, as far as my radio station was concerned, was the much higher paid full time DJ who was emceeing the event, whose sidekick I was. But I didn't get to speak, or no one even knew it was me in the costume or anything like that. I was just a guy in the pig suit. So yeah, there. That's my story about performing in front of 10,000 people. Thanks everybody who took a stab and guessed. Something like 60 odd people guessed which story was a lie. And to the 16 people who got it right, fuck you, man. The real story about the threesome goes like this. Basically, about 4 years ago, my best friend moved away from Cornwall. She lives about 250 miles away now, and she doesn't get down this way very often. But she came back in early '07, and before I really had a chance to see her, she wanted to have a girly night with one of her best girly friends from down here, which is fine. And anyway, about 1:30 in the morning, I'm just getting into bed, and I get a text message from her, which reads as follows. It says, "You got two gorgeous girls over here who are horny and drunk and need a man. You up for it?" And I remember laughing out loud, and I looked at my phone, and I go, "Yeah, right. You guys just think I've got grass and want to get stoned." I thought, fuck it. I hadn't seen her yet, so I'll just go over there and hang with them for a little while and, blow the breeze and whatever. And anyway, when I got there, yeah, they were serious. So that's my that's my threesome story, but it wasn't ever a girlfriend. It was my best friend. And yeah, that's not the type of thing could engage in if I was in a monogamous relationship. I don't think I could share my partner with someone if it was my actual partner, you know. I'm not really sure I'm secure enough for that. So there you go. Anyway, that's the stories that you're gonna get, and the ones that didn't get voted for, tough shit. This has got that funk. Thanks for watching, and may all your ups and downs be ups.